out the weak from who you've been. Can you win this war you're in? Is your point laborious, or will you rise victorious? So take it or break it. Take it or break it. Take it or break it. Earn your throne.
All right, welcome to Take It or Break It, Sports Takes, Game Show of Your Dreams, Your Nightmares. I'm your host, Corbin Smith, an occasional blogger at Baseball Prospectus, a young man seeking a PhD, a person whose reply guy I feel I am. It's Matt Ellis. Matt, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Corbin. It's great to once again be on the opposite end of reply guying with you.
Oh, thank you. Wait, what's the opposite end of reply guying?
I'm now your reply guy in your medium here.
Oh.
Yeah.
So wait, Twitter's your medium?
I mean, I didn't say it.
Okay.
You said
okay.
it. So
are you like proud of that, or?
It's I'll wear it, I guess.
We all must wear what we have. Our second guest is a writer and a comedian living in sunny Los Angeles, California. It's Brendan McGowan. Brendan's never been on before. Hey, Brendan.
Hi, thank you very much for having me. I'm excited.
How you doing?
I'm well. I am just nervous for my first appearance, but I think I'll be fine.
Oh, Brendan, don't. How dare you?
Well, I delayed the normal time I take my Adderall in the day, so I should be firing on all possible.
You take Adderall, Brendan?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I took Adderall for like a week in the very beginning of high school. And I was in science class, and a fella in front of me was talking while I was trying to learn about science. Mm-hmm. And I, just in the middle of the class, I just fucking screamed at him. Like as loudly as I possibly could.
Sure. You had to get your science on. You're committed.
Yeah, so then I stopped taking Adderall.
Okay.
Because it made me want to scream at people. And then I got older, and my psychiatrist was like, "Hey, Corbin, what if you took Zoloft?" And I was like, "Oh, I love this." Tee-hee-hee. Matt, what's your daily medication regime? What's going on with you?
Also Zoloft. Yeah. Sleeping in sometimes. It's one of the really great things about getting a PhD is that once you're done with coursework, you teach, and then you go off to write. Mm-hmm. And, the smart thing to do would be to wake up, let's say, 8, 9 in the morning, kind of, get a routine down, sit down, get some pages. Or you realize that you're not actually beholden to a schedule at all whatsoever. Mm-hmm. So you can wake up whenever you want.
Matt, before you were a PhD student, you were a freelance writer, right?
Yeah, on and off.
This has just been your whole life.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
I was in a band for a while, went back to school, but mostly kind of not being beholden to a schedule.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I'm like that too. Sometimes I worry. Sometimes I'm like, oh no, is this bad for me?
I mean, it probably is.
Yeah.
I mean, it is bad. It is 100% bad. But, what else are you going to do?
Because I slept in today. I went to bed at like 10, and then I woke up too early, and I needed more sleep. I've been having trouble getting 8 solid hours lately.
What's sleeping in for you?
Sleeping in is 8. Well, I don't know. Probably 9.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. What's sleeping in for you?
That's
Matt?
Respectable. I plead the fifth on this.
Okay. I mean, it's cool. It's cool. Part of it is I go to bed early. I'm not like it.
Yeah.
Brendan, how about you? What's your sleep in? Or Adderall, you probably don't even sleep in, do you?
Yeah, no. I mean, I would say 7:15 is sleeping in for me.
That's powerful.
Partly because I'm on a dog's schedule more than I'm on my own. and that is when he needs to go outside in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
But my medication regimen is Adderall and Wellbutrin.
Oh, Wellbutrin.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Riding that white lightning.
It's just
what white lightning is. Huh?
Yeah.
Yes, it's not moonshine. They were wrong. So yeah, a lot of stimulants in my life, because without them, I would lay on the couch and just stare at a television, incapable of doing anything else.
You need those sweet nitro injections.
Yeah. It's fun. It's fun to need that to function.
Mm-hmm.
It's great.
Well, thanks for joining us.
Anytime.
Matt and Brendan. It's time to get to the gristle, but first we have to spell out the rules. Take It or Break It is a game where we discuss topics. Not bad take is worth 1 or 2 points. An actually good take is worth 3 points. A scorching hot take is worth 5 points, but a garbage take is worth -3 points. Are we all understood?
Understood.
Hey, I'm going to be real with you. I'm a little behind on the old stick and ball this year. I've been watching movies, Bob's Burgers, reading books. You heard of them? And stuff. So please tell me, what is the baseball meta-narrative this year? What is the most important shit happening on the diamond for you in the depths of your heart? Matt Ellis, you first.
Oh, man. Well, I'm going to take advantage of the way you closed that question and said, what's important for me? And point to the fact that my Seattle Mariners are currently 54-73.
Mm-hmm.
And
is that bad?
That's one. Yeah, you could say that.
Is that rebuilding?
Yes. So, I also have been paying certain kind of specious attention to baseball this year. I would say what interests me is, yes, on the one hand, following a team that's finally starting a rebuild that I think is about 6 or so years overdue. But I would say it's interesting watching all of baseball march towards what I think is going to be a labor stoppage in 2021. Watching half of the AL intentionally win about 45 to 50 games a year. The NL isn't quite the same thing, but I think it's really interesting, I guess, just to watch what happens as sort of the last sort of vestiges of this particular CBA play themselves out, and players are still without contracts, and teams are intentionally bad, and good teams are intentionally not signing players. And I don't really have a hot take. I just think it's like any time you turn on the news and you feel like the next thing that's going to happen is going to be the end of it. It's baseball's just mirroring the sort of affect of watching the news, and I'm ready for 2021. So
mirroring the affect. I was going to give you 3, but mirroring the affect bumped you up to 4. I've been there's a new book out about the Red Sox team that won a championship. It's called Homegrown, and I got a promo copy, not to brag or anything.
But I'm sorry, is this the Red Sox team that won the World Series?
I'm sorry, what? The Boston Red Sox team that won the World Series?
Yeah, I was just asking, is this the most recent one?
Yes, the most recent one. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I've been kind of pawing through the book a little bit. It's pretty good. But part of the thing that it's about is how the teams are really aggressively pursuing most of their development through minor leagues instead of free agency, blah, 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 blah. I think you know what I'm talking about, right, Matt?
Yeah.
And there's kind of a weird where's the cart, where's the horse question with that. Because I think it's hard to argue that value per dollar, that doing that, like building everything through a minor league system, isn't the most rational way to do it. But it also is very conveniently is bad for labor. And so, Matt, I have a question.
Yes.
Which one do you think is more important to the teams executing it? Do you think it's that it works, or do you think it's that it fucks labor?
You mean insofar as like signing free agency or building through labor?
Through minors, yeah.
I'm going to turn it back on you and say I think it's partially an argument based on sort of the temporal development of the team, like when they decide to make that decision, right? Mm-hmm. So I'll just use the Mariners. I'll use the Mariners, for example. They decided when they blew everything up over the offseason last year that they were like, okay, you're right. We sort of had this team full of old, expensive players, and we clearly couldn't get over the hump in the division with the Astros. We're always competing with either the Yankees or the Red Sox. What do? We're going to blow it up and go down to the minors, right? But instead of fully sort of, and they restocked the team a little bit, but they're running with the system right now where they improved from something like last in all of baseball to somewhere about in the middle, their farm system wise. But now they're running with that as sort of like that they did it, that they did all they needed to do. They got X amount of prospects, and anyone who's sort of, knows far more than I do would tell you that you need far more prospects that then will ever actually turn up and do anything. The percentage by which baseball prospects flame out or turn into busts is a gigantic, large percentage. So you need more than pointing and saying like I've got 6 or 7 guys that are going to all turn out great and do wonderful. So on the one hand, I think you need a much longer and deeper investment. But at the same time, you look at the teams who have done that correctly in this way. They add with free agency after they have gotten all these players who have turned out, right? I mean, you look at the Astros who, their core is these young guys they've drafted, but they have a bunch of players that like totally flamed out, like Mark Apple, right? With the infamous sort of signing deal that he didn't even sign. And then I forget even what all went down with it. But so they have prospect busts, but they would then go pick up players and they would trade for players. So I think it's a combination of the two, and what worries me is seeing this trend towards thinking all you have to do is develop a bunch of young, inexpensive players and not realize that the two sort of have to go hand in hand, right? Yeah. Also, your best players are going to turn 29 and they're going to leave. So
aren't we all, man? Someday. Because that's the thing about the Red Sox. I haven't quite gotten to this point in the book yet, which is a surprisingly good book if you want to read something about the Red Sox, which, that's your life, I guess. Is that eventually the Red Sox have the core, and then what do? They go out, they get Price, and they and they get that lunatic sale, and they do what they need to do.
Yeah.
Brendan, what is the most important baseball meta-narrative? Oh, if you want to talk about this first, please go ahead.
Briefly about that Red Sox team that is in the book Homegrown, not just Sale and Price, but also Kimbrel, and then their 2 best performers in the World Series that they won were Evaldi and Steve Pearce, who are also not homegrown, who are, I believe, over 30. So I get why that narrative makes sense if you're just talking about the regular season, but for the majority of the playoffs and definitely the World Series, they were carried by veterans who were not at all homegrown. So that's my take on that. Okay. The most important narrative, I think, this season in baseball is what these hedge fund boys are going to do to this sport and the fact that it might not be around a whole lot longer. You've got a sport that is unaffordable and unapproachable for most people in this country, not just in terms of buying tickets to go to the game, but being able to watch the game legally on television or on a laptop. It's unapproachable for a lot of people. I live in Los Angeles. The Dodgers are only available on cable for about half the people in the city because only one cable provider has the network that they are broadcast on. It's cutting off your own nose to spite your face. And in terms of whether or not this is all everything that baseball is doing is anti-labor in terms of losing on purpose, clearly colluding in the free agency period, in my opinion. Because if you look at the 2 teams that acquired the 2 guys that remained free agents well into the season, the Cubs acquired Kimbrel, and the Braves acquired Dallas Keuchel, and they've both performed well for those teams. And every team avoided offering those guys a contract because they would have to give up a second-round draft pick. They value a second-round draft pick more than a Cy Young Award winner, and one of the best closers I've ever seen in my life. It's fundamentally flawed how the game is run. And my real takeaway for this season is the juiced baseball. I think that's very important because I don't think it's just to make the game have more offense and therefore be more entertaining to try and sell it to new fans. Because this is a sport that doesn't seem terribly interested in getting new fans so much as maintaining the wealthy fans that are able to afford it. I think the juice baseball is an anti-labor endeavor because it makes pitchers worse and less valuable, and it makes hitters more replaceable because you can say, well, look at what Derek Dietrich is doing at second base. We could get this out of anybody. These are juiced numbers that are creating a young class of rookies with historic home run numbers that I don't think are genuine, and that I think that the youth movement in baseball has been enhanced a great deal because of the obsession with cost control. In terms of, it takes 6 seasons before you become a free agent. If you can get 40 home runs out of Pete Alonso, why would you ever think about trading for Jose Abreu?
Is that your take, Brendan?
Yeah, my take is baseball has colluded to make itself spend less money on players and cheapen the record books.
Well, it's hot, certainly. It's fiery. It's 3 points. Matt, do you agree?
I do. I completely agree. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Baseball. Everything baseball is doing. What do you think is going to happen when the CBA expires? Either.
Is that? Oh, okay. I think there's going to be a work stoppage, and I don't know if baseball can survive another work stoppage. I mean, it's going to become a regional sport like hockey. And I don't know what the players are going to ask for because I don't know how you prove collusion when every team will just say all of our algorithms pointed us to the same thing. Every one of us had an algorithm that said, do not give up a second-round pick for Dallas Keuchel.
I think that's a really good point. Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And also, I've written about this elsewhere, but I think collusion is on one hand the right narrative because you can point to any other points in baseball history where there has been literal collusion, such as like the gentleman's agreement, right, to keep the major leagues segregated and so on. But what's sort of enervating about this moment is that it doesn't need to literally be collusion if all the financial incentives for all the owners point to sort of, I think this is what you're pointing to, Brendan, right? All the financial and all these incentives for the owners do point to operating like this, right? They don't need to literally be in a back room smoking cigars and top hats and agree, we're going to, keep these boys down or something like that. If they're like, we'll just make more money if we keep doing this, right? And what worries me is, right. Everyone knows something's coming when the CBA expires. But if they let the CBA expire, and I'm by no means, I don't know, labor law or anything like this, but my gut is that the players are actually going to be at somewhat of a disadvantage if they wait till the CBA expires and then go try to do something about the contract, rather than maybe do something like all strike in September, which is what they did in '94, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's what's a little troubling is that when this comes to a head, who's still at the end of the day going to have all the playing cards at the table, right?
I think that's a great question. I also think that, reading the tea leaves of the players had to have their own unsigned player spring training teams that was closed to the public because they were getting no offers. That's drastic.
Insane.
That is a drastic step. I think that one thing the players are going to have to do is find a new leader for their union. I don't have a lot of faith in the current leadership, especially because they allowed a luxury tax to make its way into baseball. I think that's going to be a big problem for them for a long time. And it also, they allowed it to happen because they were concerned about international free agents who are still not treated very well, to put it as lightly as possible. I think the amount of things that baseball has done that are transparently anti-labor, it's going to be a very contentious fight.
I was reading Bud Selig's book, my dear friend, who I've spoken to on the telephone. Not to brag or anything. And the labor fights that he had, I'm not so naive to accept his argument on face value that he did it because he was worried about parity in baseball. But that was sort of the framing that he was employing, and it was probably something that I suspect some small market owners were anxious about. Is that safe to say? Parity.
Are you talking specifically 94?
Yeah, 94 and around that time.
Yeah, I would say that is fair because at that time you had Baltimore trying to outspend New York, and it was never going to work out for them doing that. So I get that there needs to be systems in place for parity.
Of course.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. I had a second point to this, Brendan.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But what the labor thing that's popping up now is so much more arcane than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the thing that they're, like the thing that is suppressing salaries right now is just so much stranger than, oh, we need to do this to balance the league out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's like if this all comes to a theoretical head and there's like an out and out labor fight, like what are the, I mean, the sports media sucks dog shit at covering stuff like this, but like, what are people going to be saying? Like, are teams going to be saying, like, oh, well, this is what the computers tell us to do. You guys like advanced stats, don't you? And the players saying, they're fucking us. Or, how this is even going to play out is so bizarre to me.
This is actually something I've been thinking about a lot. And I would even connect it outside baseball just to kind of our whole contemporary moment right now.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
The way that the 94 strike, A, was covered and B, is sort of commemorated, right? If you watch Ken Burns, I know this is ridiculous, but if you watch Ken, when he did the 10th inning and he covers the 94 strike at the very beginning, the sort of dominant narrative is like, oh, the fans were betrayed and they held up signs saying, stop being greedy, our children want to watch baseball. And it was like, oh, it's this very complicated thing about, they wanted to have a salary cap, and what's all this stuff? Yeah, but sort of, Corbin, as you point to now, it's just like, as with sort of everything else that's happening in our political situation, it's like these people just sort of show up and they're like, yeah, we're going to just impose this weird 19th century archaic weird bullshit, and that's just kind of what we want to do, and not even attempt to sort of cover it up, right? To have unsigned free agents, sort of, Brendan, as you pointed out, Kimbrel going how long you did, that any team who has any pretense of trying to win would be better if they signed these players don't. The weird thing about it to me is just how obvious it is, and I really do wonder how the so-called supposed Rube fans, I don't think that people are going to just sort of accept these narratives. They're like, I'm kind of pissed about this, right? I want my team to win. Hey, wait a minute. Why did tickets go up, 20%? And why is beer up? And my team fucking sucks, right?
Yeah. Why are my tickets more expensive? And now you're using a reliever to pitch the first inning.
Yeah, exactly.
To clearly eliminate the starter salary from your payroll.
Exactly. Yeah.
Who's doing that?
Everybody.
Tampa Bay was the first. Everybody's doing it, but Tampa Bay was the first team.
Yeah, innovators in the field.
And also the White
people.
Sox. The White Sox payroll is something in the mid $90 million this year. Every team in baseball got.
It is?
Yes.
That's low, right?
Just wait. Every team in baseball on the first day of the year, without selling a single ticket, without selling a hot dog, got a free $60 million because of their participation in the Major League Baseball advanced media streaming technology, which is now they're partnered with Disney at this point because Disney's going to use it for their streaming service.
Well, they already were, but Disney bought a stake in them.
Bought a stake. Yeah. So they started the year. The White Sox started the year with a free $60 million. They also lowballed Manny Machado, and were unable to sign him because of their offer being too low. So they're spending $36 million on this team, essentially. Free 60 for 96, and you couldn't give a reasonable offer to Manny Machado on a team that has a very interesting core that is rebuilding, that could definitely use a superstar in his mid-20s to propel you even further. It's astonishing to me that that their fans aren't standing outside of their offices.
The other thing about this is that sorry to get back to Selig. I've been thinking about this because I read that book and then talked to him. Is that whatever you could say about his tenure, especially in how it affected the cultural perception of baseball or whatever, he left the league in unbelievable financial shape. And part of that is that the media economy has been fucking incredible for sports. It's basically the only thing that people will watch a commercial on anymore consistently.
Yes.
Yes, but they just can't fucking help themselves. They just fucking love penny pinching so much.
But that's what's interesting, right? Is that it's as if they, like you pointed to, right? Something happened in sort of the sort of blossoming of digital media and broadcasting at this moment, and it's as if they think they did that, rather than like it was a historical accident that this happened at this time. Like, oh look, we did it. We got to just keep sort of doing this thing, and they don't realize, out of the many hundreds of things that are at play here, like let's just talk about the TV contracts. Those are a bubble, and that's going to burst. I don't necessarily.
I don't 100% agree with you on.
You don't agree with that? Okay. Well,
no, because it's the reason it's inflating is because it's the only TV that does what TV used to do anymore. You know what I mean?
Like you mean like have a sort of a one-stop live. This is where you get X.
Yeah,
this is where you get X.
You have to be in front of the television to witness what's happening.
Sure.
Otherwise, it's cheapened. If you catch it.
I mean, maybe it's a bubble in the way that everything seems like it's a bubble right now. But I really think that it's going to maintain at least some level of coasting above other kinds of media properties. Just because
it's a bubble. It's a bubble in the sense that baby boomers are the ones propelling it,
right?
Because they are the ones with the income and the disposable money. And the interest in baseball to pay these absurd fees. There are two generations after them who are less interested and certainly don't have as much money.
That's a decent argument for baseball. I don't think that's going to be. Do you think that? I don't think that's going to be across sports.
I don't think that's. I don't think that's across sports. But also, you have way more national broadcasts of other sports.
Yeah.
You get one ESPN game a week, and you get one Fox game. It seems like one Fox game a week, or maybe it's two Fox games every 2 weeks, something like that. Out of the amount of teams in baseball, there's no national footprint anymore because of that.
Is baseball going to fucking do anything about that?
What? Stop cashing the checks from their local broadcast deals?
Do something about their shrinking cultural relevance.
They're letting YouTube broadcast like one game a week for free or something like that.
What
Facebook too. Facebook's got.
Yes, that's true. But they're also like DMCAing people that are helping the game.
Exactly.
Like the Twitter pitching ninja. Also the guy on Twitter, John Boy, who gives you a brief and succinct explanation of any weird or interesting thing that happened in a game that is, a fight and the context of the fight. He had like a 2-minute video about Cody Bellinger's pants falling off while he was sliding into third base last night. Gave you the whole story in just a minute. And baseball's like, stop posting these. It's like, okay, good. I will, because I'm incredibly popular in helping your brand.
Yeah.
It's they are doing the opposite of what the NBA did, which was embrace the internet culture.
Brendan?
Oh no.
Brendan, where are you?
Yeah, sorry, I got lost for a second. They did the opposite of what the NBA did. The NBA embraced their fans engaging online and sharing their content. And the NBA said, no, this is great. This is going to help build the brand. Not, no, take this down because we don't have any advertisements on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the interesting thing is the pitch tracking guy, and I actually have a friend who I used to write with at SB Nation. The few of them that they actually do something about, MLBAM hires them, right? They're like, okay, great, wonderful. You're very talented. Come work for us. Don't do anything that's interesting, why people flocked to what you were sort of doing. Just come be a guy who works in sort of our media office. Wonderful. Now we can sort of have it all in-house.
Yeah, it's like the one thing I can say the NBA that's bad about NBA media was ESPN bought the Draft Express site, right? And brought those guys in. Was it Draft Express or was it a different?
Yeah, it was DX. Yeah. Giving you works over there now. Yeah.
And they don't let them do anything. Like on Draft Night, you don't see anything from them.
Well, it's all behind. I mean, it's all behind. It's all paywalled. It's all.
I know, but it was incredibly popular, and then it disappeared for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, and that's one thing you can be a crank about with the NBA, but that's almost every good thing about baseball coverage.
It just gets buried behind a paywall.
They join the Athletic. That's behind a paywall. Like every great baseball writer is with the Athletic now. Which is beyond baseball's control, obviously, but that's also, publications don't have enough money because not enough people are interested because not enough people can watch the games.
Uh-huh.
All right, let's get to some real fucking news.
Hell yeah, dog.
You ready? From Jeff Passan at ESPN. MLB warns sexual enhancers may include PEDs. Hell yeah. Major League Baseball, in a memo, warned about the very real risk of over-the-counter sexual enhancement pills after at least 2 players this year were suspended for performance-enhancing drugs and said the banned substances found in their urine came from the unregulated products. Sources familiar with the situation told ESPN the use of over-the-counter pills, which are often sold at gas stations, is prevalent among baseball players. According to multiple sources, it prompted the league to send out a memo on Monday that outlines the risk of consuming non-blah blah blah. The memo: these products are often contaminated with prohibited and unsafe ingredients, and the players are subject to discipline even if they inadvertently ingest a banned substance. Sexual or marital enhancement products present a very real risk for drug-tested players, the memo said, and the high likelihood for contamination of unidentified ingredients in these products underscores the importance of only consuming those products that are NSF certified for sport. Over-the-counter pills, unregulated supplements, blah, 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 blah. All right, guys, I got a lot of questions about this incredible story. Question 1. First off, are these players using these things because they're not good at fucking? That's the first thing to ask. Are they bad at sex? And if they are, I'm looking for some suggestions about what they can do to improve their sex game without getting popped for PEDs. Second, I got to know: is this Frank Thomas's fault? Do players see those commercials where middle-aged women are just incredibly horny for the big hurt? And do they want that kind of sexual power? And are they seeking it wherever they can find it, even in gas stations? And third, is it possible they're just using gas station horny pills as PEDs? Can you do that? Have you done that? Brendan McGowan, you first.
I'll answer the last question first. I have taken a horny goat weed when I was 17. Now, here's the thing about a 17-year-old: they don't need help getting the motor running. So I did not notice a difference. Not unlike in a video game when your character has a special ability, then you find armor that would enhance that special ability, but they don't stack. So there's no reason to equip it. That's where I kind of was with horny goat weed.
You're already so great at getting an erection.
From the 7-Eleven across the street from John Quill Park. I will say I doubt highly that most ball players have trouble in the bedroom. There's a lot of players that clearly fuck. I mean, Puig is the most extreme example because he's having sex with his bat during at bats.
Yeah. Puig fuck for sure.
Yeah.
And there's you're not allowed to bring your wife on the road because she might be in the team hotel bar and see another player hitting on a woman who is not his wife. Baseball players fuck. It is known. Sometimes they say their own name during sex and then give you a gift basket when you leave. So, I doubt they are using these for the supposed purpose, which I question it is even effective for. And if they're using it as PEDs, I mean, sure, it's fine. I also don't really care that much about PEDs. I wonder what effect they actually have, because I think what players today need in terms of performance enhancement is not like steroids. They need Vyvanse or Adderall, because they grew up with the internet. Their attention span is very short, and this is a game where you just stand in the outfield.
Nowadays.
Yeah.
Social media.
So,
bringing down bat averages.
Chris Davis was caught using Adderall, and they acted like, it was one of the worst things that's ever happened, and they suspended him, I believe. And it's like, well, if you're admitting that this game is this slow, that you need it to play it, you might as well just let the guys use it.
Davis couldn't get a prescription?
I didn't look into it that much. I don't know if he had a prescription. Yeah. I highly doubt he was just buying, street Adderall.
Before we go on, is this Frank Thomas's fault?
Oh, I will say no.
Okay.
Because Frank Thomas has been retired for the length of some of these guys' entire career at this point.
But he's on MLB TV a lot.
Yeah, but they think he's an old man at this point.
Yeah, but he's getting his muscles rubbed. All right, okay, all right.
I think for them it's an age issue more than it is all ball players need help. I think they think elderly ball players need help.
Oh, wow. All right, 3 points. Matt Ellis.
Yeah, I'm with Brendan on this. I think, if it was a Frank Thomas elder statesman baseball issue, it wouldn't be OTC, first of all. That's the thing, right? I also think this is definitely a way to skirt drug tests and to just get the smallest amount of any kind of boost you can get. But what's so funny about it is that Hassan so specifically said gas station. What did he say? Gas station sex pills?
Yep. Yeah.
What this 100% is this is when you go to CVS or that weird store in the mall that sells all the supplements. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And it's the I don't know, Men's X Plus or Swiss Navy, whatever, daily supplements for health.
Sorry, Swiss Navy?
I looked this up.
Okay. The famously horny
Swiss
Navy.
Well, they're never at sea, so they're always.
That's true. They're always on shore leave.
But they're 100%. They're going to CVS and they're getting these supposedly proper kind of male enhancement tablets. And what's so funny about it is imagining Tanner Rourke going into a Texaco and going over the counter and being like, "Yeah, I'll take 2 of the Rhino Bighorns. Yeah, thanks." It's not that. It is not that at all. But I want it to be so bad. I want it to.
But I'm just saying, Passan's doing the reporting, and Passan is saying, fairly reliable reporter, that this is apparently a hobby of Major League Baseball players, is gas station dick pills.
He said it. You're right. I can't question the reporting. That's That's what it is. It's the Rhino Bighorn.
That they pop into AMPM. They go, let me get a monster drink and those dick pills. Any good? Let me get some of those.
Yeah, that's absolutely what it is.
Yeah. I'm just worried. Look, first off, 3 points, Matt. Good take. I'm just worried that maybe there's a sexual performance problem amongst modern NFL players or
MLB.
MLB. There we go. Baseball. People don't usually call it MLB. They usually call it baseball. Amongst MLB players, and I just think it's time for teams to get some guys in the clubhouse to teach them about clit stuff. You know?
Yeah. Let them fuck.
Yeah. It's time, hey, kids, it's time to, you need to learn to take your time out there. Keep your eye on the ball, so to speak. Oh, that was fun. Haha, fucking. It's hilarious.
I'll also say that I think it would be funny. I don't think this is what's happening, but it would be funny if we discovered that ball players were just trying to fuck with the people that test their urine, because there's always been, ever since Ryan Braun, there's been a lot of contempt for the guys who have to test the urine of ball players.
The piss boys.
Yes. Yeah. Sometimes when you're caught, you've got to try and ruin the life of a guy who just collects piss as a multimillionaire.
Question 3. Hey, now that Ichiro is retired, and we've had some time to think about it, who is the coolest baseball player currently in the league? Please answer, Matt Ellis.
I'm going to keep it close to the chest, and I'm going to go with Nelson Cruz. He's nearing 40, if not 40. Speaking of PEDs, yes, was caught with PEDs. But I also, as with Brendan, don't really give a shit. But, he was one of my favorite Mariners in that little run in sort of the moment. And he was a guy who sort of was never supposed to be here, and then he was. And now he's sort of staring time in the face. And anytime the bat makes contact with the ball, it, goes 700 feet. And I think it's great. Insofar as we began this whole conversation with sort of what's happening to labor, what's happening to young players pre-ARB, getting paid, the league minimum. I think it's fucking cool that a 39-year-old guy can still come out and, okay, yes, maybe the ball is a part of it, but he's 39. Come on, give the guy a little slack. So my vote's for Nelson Cruz.
3-point take, Ellis. McGowan.
My vote is for Joey Votto, because I consider him the funniest player in Major League Baseball right now, which is very important to me. And I think that, anyone who wears a T-shirt you wore a T-shirt this spring training that just showed the actual graph of the age at which baseball players' skills diminish. And it also showed him on that graph, like the current age that he's at, in the window of completely plummeting. He has fun with it, man. And also, he is antithetical to the entire standard argument for why veteran players aren't given lengthy deals for large amounts of money anymore. He signed a big deal for a lot of money, and he has had one blip for not even a full season. But he has been the same player for the length of the contract. And proof that, if you shell out money for someone with a high level of skill, you're going to get production. And you don't need to be cheap and only offer 2 years to these guys.
Not as cool as Nelson Cruz, 2 points.
Sure.
I want to talk about if PEDs are cool or not. I think that in the big PED era, not cool. Sure. I think that now, a little cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Like all things, the sort of PED industry maybe has figured out how to how to advance their product without turning people's necks into the size of their waists. That's half of it, right? Half of it's just aesthetics, right? You look at, Mark McGuire.
Yeah, McGuire was just such like a hideous monster, man.
It's so obviously fraudulent, right? But like even, whenever I hear of somebody who's kind of not some, young kid in the minors who gets busted for some dumb thing, but like somebody who's some kind of D. Gordon on the Marlins. What was that, like 3 years ago?
Yes.
What does he weigh? Like he weighs like 165 pounds. He's got a good glove and he hits for contact and that's all he can do. And then you find out he's taking PEDs.
That's cool.
Which at that moment you affiliate PEDs with big, huge dudes who just hit dingers all the time, right? And you're like, fuck it. If that can make D. Gordon get on base 4 times out of 10, sign me up. I'm right.
Question 4. Bernie Sanders played baseball yesterday in Iowa. Matt wrote about it over at Baseball Prospectus. Check that out. His swing looks fucking awful. There's no way around it. But his running form was unusually nice. How can I stay that limber in my old age? Also, who killed Epstein? Please integrate these 2 topics into one answer. I think it's Brendan's turn.
So, to answer your question about Bernie, he did grow up in Brooklyn. That looks like a stickball swing, not a baseball swing. Yeah. So I think that can explain that pretty easily. How to maintain that kind of shape and form into that late age, I wish I knew the answer to that. I would think that it's probably healthy living and not being in a position of power like the United States Senate, and also complicit in a global pedophile ring, unlike George Mitchell, who was implicated in the Epstein investigation. So to talk about, that's my baseball connection with Epstein, the guy who wrote the Mitchell report, was with that. And Epstein was killed. I thought it was the British royal family for a while.
Who among us?
But the more I read about this Ghislaine Maxwell woman and the fact that she is clearly a CIA asset, she went to Oxford, she speaks 4 languages, she can pilot a helicopter, a submersible, and underwater robots. She's a spy, and I'm pretty sure it was intelligence that did it.
Good take. 4 points. Matt Ellis.
All right, well, first, Bernie. I'm not as down on his swing, I have to admit, considering he's 77 years old. The thing I think that I was most impressed by was his follow-through, and that he, if you watch the swing in the tweet, you can see that he follows through with one hand, which, for an old guy, that I really kind of got to give that to him. But as far as being able to still do that, burst out of the box at that age, my vote is what you're looking at is somebody who has a sort of continuous commitment to a rigorous analysis of dialectical materialism throughout their lives. And what you're looking at is the unity of mind and spirit and body. And it's what we should all aspire to, As for Epstein, I'm with you, right? Like, it was after the new report dropped that Prince Andrew was implicated, that suddenly he was off. My vote is a little bit more conspiratorial. I think it is. I think everyone's implicated, but I think it's someone who has arms and legs in all of these sort of agencies and institutions that is nameless and faceless. It's the end of Eyes Wide Shut. It's Sidney Pollack talking to Tom Cruise saying, "You don't want to know. You don't want to know. Go home." Right? That's who it is.
Okay. 3 points. I've never seen Eyes Wide Shut. So.
Oh my God, Corbin.
I know. I wasn't a Kubrick guy when I was of an age. I always felt he was a little bloodless, personally. So when people are like, "Oh, there's this Kubrick movie that some people don't like," I was like, "Damn good," I guess everybody likes it now, though, right?
I have not seen it in a long time. I was in middle school, I want to say, when it came out.
Alice, you love it, right?
I love it. It's great.
Are you a Kubrick guy?
I like Kubrick, yeah.
Okay.
I know there's sort of the stigma and the sort of film bro, but I like Kubrick, And I mean, what I will say is I think it's the film means two fundamentally different things pre and post Epstein. So
okay. Oh, that's
well, so does Kubrick's death.
Well, there you go.
Damn.
Yeah.
Question 5. XFL logos. They're out, and here they are. Can you guys pull up a copy of the XFL logos? I can't do it right now.
I'm looking at them.
Thank you. One sec. Find the XFL logos, Corbin.
They are astonishing.
Wow. I think that might be a little... All right, here we go. CBS Sports. Thank you to CBS Sports for so many things.
Wasn't the whole thing about this that the XFL was attempted in the 90s or something like that? Or am I misremembering? Okay.
Well, 2001, and then...
okay, 2001.
Big start, and then it tailed off really quickly.
I mean, that explains it right there. The aesthetics are still frozen in that sort of innocent moment, right?
Well... In 2001...
Let's pause. Let's pause for a second so I can ask you the question.
Okay, fine.
What do these invoke in you? That was the question. Matt, you first, I think. Yeah, Matt, you first.
They invoke sort of a sense of being not frozen in time, but like removed from time, right? When I look at this, the 2000s didn't happen. The 2008 financial crisis didn't happen.
Did 9/11 happen?
Well, it depends on when the XFL began. I mean, is it
I think the XFL began almost right before 9/11.
Right before. Okay, so maybe I'll what's the Muppets movie where it turns out they did 9/11? I'll do this here. The XFL didn't do 9/11, but it's a sense of being stuck in some extra time thing, right? You go to the movies, all there are Marvel movies. Now there's a new football league, and you go and you look, and turns out you're still in 1999. You're still in 2001. What is this? The Memphis Maniacs with an X, and their logo is just a crazy guy. This is not 2019. We're time has not happened. My lifetime didn't happen, so it's very enervating. It's kind of horrifying. I'm in the Black Lodge.
All right, cool. Black Lodge, love to hear it. 2 points. Brendan McGowan.
So these are unacceptable. Probably the best way to explain this. If at first glance, you've got the Seattle Dragons, which is clearly a ripoff of the UAB Blazers logo. The Dallas Renegades logo is definitely from a video game at some point in my lifetime. There was almost no work put into this whatsoever. And, the original XFL was created because people were mad that they couldn't see brutal, punishing hits anymore. We pamper our quarterbacks too much by not giving them irreparable brain damage. We need a new league where that can happen. So it had a very WWE Attitude Era aesthetic. I remember a radio commercial when I was in high school for a game between the Chicago... Oh, God, I forgot the name of the team. But Chicago had a team, and I believe Mississippi had a team, and it was straight up they played the banjo music from Deliverance and said, the big dumb rednecks from Mississippi are coming. And we've got to knock the last 2 teeth out of their mouth or whatever. This, insanely tribal, intolerant, ill-informed, just out of control. And so this league comes along with these tepid, lukewarm... people that get up early to go to Chick-fil-A on a Saturday-ass logos, because this is a league that exists purely because some black guys took a knee because they don't want to be killed in the street for no good reason. Minor League Baseball logos dunk on this shit.
Minor League Baseball has some very nice logos.
Yeah, because they care and they try, which is not what you can say for the XFL. This is, I have a lot of contempt for the XFL and the fact that they're trying to do this again, and the reasons that they're trying to do this again. So these logos can piss up a rope.
Wow.
Damn.
The Chicago team was called the Chicago Enforcers, by the way.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Their logo is it's like a curled fist.
It is interesting that
it's the front of a curled fist though, and I don't which one's fascist, front or back? What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, that sounds like it's referencing Chicago's organized crime history more than fascist politics, which
true, yeah.
In and of itself, get out of here with that.
Yeah.
But the two Chicago teams that were created in my lifetime are the Chicago Enforcers and the Chicago MLS team, the Chicago Fire, which is the worst disaster in the city's history. And it's a very strange thing to name a team after. A million people were homeless.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. They should have called them the Cows.
Sure.
Because of the cow, the Solari's.
Cow started the fire.
The Solari's cow started the fire. Okay. 5 points.
Damn.
There's a lot of heat there, Brendan. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm going to warm my family with that one. You know what I recently learned? You guys know you're not supposed to give babies water?
Wait, what?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. They can just get all the water they need from breast milk or formula.
Makes sense.
I mean, okay. There's nothing I need to do with this information right now, but I will. I'll lodge it in the back of my head.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure if you become a parent, they're like, "Hey, don't give your baby water." And so, most parents probably know that, but I don't have fucking kids.
Yeah, parents do get a lot more information about kids than people that don't have them.
Yeah, I agree. Question 6. Oh man, if you could be the commissioner of an XFL baseball league, the XBL, perhaps, what rules would you institute and what traditions would you enforce to live up to the X quotient of the product? Brendan McGowan.
I would get rid of the dirt around home plate and replace it with grass so we could bring back the Baltimore chop. If you don't know what that is, the team in Baltimore used to have a bunch of swarthy fellas just hit the ball directly into the grass because they were so fast an infielder couldn't get to it and throw it to first in time. So I would definitely bring that back because that's hilarious. DH in both leagues. You could bring a pitcher.
Now, keep in mind, this is a separate league, the XBL.
I understand.
Okay.
I'm just saying there would be a designated hitter in both leagues. You would
So there would still be 2 leagues in the XBL?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, okay. All right, cool.
Well, just like there's an East and West Conference.
Oh, okay.
However it's set up.
Okay.
Universal DH. Also, players would be allowed to return to the game even if they have left. So you can start subbing in pitchers throughout the game. Keep them warm the entire time and swap back and forth for each batter. Also, designated multi-run areas once you hit a home run.
Okay,
So, hit it here, 2 runs.
Okay.
Hit it here, 3 runs.
Okay.
Not unlike the Bull where you get a stake in Bull Durham.
Or the Bay in the Giants Stadium,
Yes. Yeah.
Like if you fire one off into the Bay, you get you don't in real baseball, but you get
Multiple runs.
Yeah.
Yes. And no singing of God Bless America in the 7th inning stretch.
Hell yeah. Goddamn right. God damn America.
Instead, every team will have to do what the Milwaukee Brewers do, which is sing a beer polka after Take Me Out to the Ball Game.
Mm-hmm.
They get to choose their own beer polka, but it has to be a beer polka.
Mm-hmm.
No cutting off alcohol sales at any point.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also, you can bring in your own alcohol and food.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Every team's mascot has to make sense with the name of the team.
Mm-hmm.
None of this extemporaneous. I don't know if you've ever seen the White Sox mascot, but it's a demon from hell.
Yeah. I actually kind of like that guy. He seems like he's having a good time. He was wearing white socks.
It has nothing to do with socks. It should be a lint monster.
A what monster? A lint monster?
Yes.
He kind of looks like a lint monster.
But he's green. They're not wearing green socks. They're wearing white socks.
Okay.
But anyway, so, there aren't a lot of changes you need to make to baseball to make it fun, though. I mean, it is a fun and engaging game, especially when you go to see it live. The main thing I would do is make tickets affordable so people could bring their families and kids could enjoy a game and get into the sport.
All right. Good take. 3 points. I don't know if you quite went hard enough on the X, though. Except for those multi-runs. Matt Ellis, what are you doing to bring the X to XBL?
I'm going to bring the X in a little bit, insofar as this isn't necessarily what I would personally desire or want to do to the game of baseball, but to X it up, this is what I would do. And it would be something like it would take from the long tradition of now extinct rules in baseball that were, replaced for any number of reasons, such as quote unquote safety or something like this, right? So for starters, I would bring back the very early rule, the mid 19th century, that you can throw out a runner by hitting them with the ball. The front, right? You can turn around and just fucking peg the guy. I mean, because the thing is, right? It sounds brutal and it sounds vicious, but it's hard. It would be hard with a runner running to match it up, right? Okay, professional athlete, sure, right?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
The other thing I would do, I would have no home runs at all. But what this would require is it would require a slightly different stadium design where if the ball gets hit past, there's still a fence, but if the ball gets hit past a fence, the outfielder has to climb over and get the ball and get it back in. Obviously bring collisions back at the plate.
Would the fence be low enough that like the outfielder could sort of vault over it?
I think so, yeah. And in fact, that would, if anything, it would bring another great Sunday night highlight on Plays of the Week, that you could have the best, wall vaults kind of a thing, right? Probably even bring it in shallow a bit, right? Collisions at the plate, and if anything, if a game is tied in the 7th, you go to video replay and see who had the best collision at the plate. And that would give whatever team has the best collision the extra point going into the 8th and 9th. I would also bring back what sort of happened in the 70s, right? The crowd gets to determine things like pitching replacements or, stealing strategy, this kind of thing. And lastly, I would I wouldn't ban the shift. I would ban the shift for infielders, but outfielders get to go wherever they want because the fence is shallower, right? So if any given moment you can have, like 5 or 6 infielders in any moment. So those are my, to bring the X back in, the XBL or the XLB. Actually, I don't know what X stands for.
Well, actually, I kind of think Extreme League Baseball is kind of a tight name.
Yeah, XLB. Yeah. That's my XLB.
Matt Ellis. That's a 5-point take.
I had 2 things I forgot. I wrote down, but I forgot to mention because I'm pacing around my house. But and I'm not trying to amend my score in any way. I'm content with what I got.
Good, because you wouldn't get it.
No, of course.
It's not how Take It or Break It works.
Actual robots that are umpires.
And
the warning tracks are trampolines.
So it's not just like cameras. It's
No.
like Data, like Lieutenant Commander Data.
Yeah, and each team they have a draft every year for who their in-house umpire robot would be, and you can, choose famous robots throughout history. So you've got Data at home, you've got the Terminator at first, RoboCop at second, and Wall-E at third.
Oh, Wall-E would be such a sweet umpire.
Yeah.
I think he would need him behind the plate. Like, he'd never want to call strikeouts because he's such a nice boy.
No, he's a fucking space cadet, so he's not paying attention, and then they appeal to him, and he just makes up whether it was a ball or a strikeout.
But he's nice. He's like a nice robot. He'd be like...
I know, he's nice, but he's got, a low attention span.
Yeah. All right, once again, you don't get any extra points for that.
Why should I? I will remind you that the XFL's main changes when it was first introduced was they determined, instead of having a coin flip, they had two guys run from either end zone at each other. And
that is true. Yeah.
And that's like the only substantial change they made, other than we're not going to make calls for late hits. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, they called it like the XFL, and it was going to be this crazy, intense thing, and there's just one thing at the beginning of the game, and then they brought cameras into the locker room, and that was fucking it.
I gotta say, wall vaults would be so tight, Matt.
The what?
Wall vaulting. It would be tight. It would be cool.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Would the home team try to help you get the ball back, and the away team would be like...
that's exactly the fun of it, right? If it's split 50-50, none of this bullshit about we cheered real loud and that gave our team an abstract.
Oh man, there would be guys on the thing being like, the crowd did a terrible job.
Yeah.
On that tonight.
They let him out instead of just shoving him back, right?
And Cubs fans would have a crisis of conscience because they can no longer throw back an opposing team's home run.
Oh, damn.
No, exactly. You got to, crowd around it. Like, I don't see it. I don't know. Where'd it
go? Wow, what a wonderful and spirited takes throwdown. But it's time to leave the Dominion of Opinion under the glorious palace of concrete fact. I have with me right here a Trivial Pursuit Sports Trivia card from 1982. Please remember 1982. I will ask the question. The moment you think you know the answer, press the buzzer by saying your name. Let's practice pressing our buzzers real quick.
Brendan.
Matt.
Good job. After the question, you will get 1 point for a correct answer, and I will offer you a chance to... Okay. Sorry, I was using an old copy of the script. Okay, so here's what happens. I ask the question. If you get it right, you get a point. Then you both get a chance to offer a take on the topic. A good take is worth 1, a scorcher is worth 3. Do we all understand?
Yes.
Okay. Question 1. What's the name of the Wyoming football squad?
Brendan.
It
Cowboys.
is the Cowboys.
What?
They currently play in the Mountain West Conference, where they make the Cheney family of psychopaths proud. Brendan, do you have a take about the Wyoming football program?
My take is that I have just discovered that they make the Cheney family happy when they are successful, and that bums me out because I invested years developing that program in NCAA football on various iterations of Xbox and PlayStation. So that makes me really sad.
I mean, I don't know if they actually do. The Cheneys are just from Wyoming.
Oh, okay. So it's not like Wichita State, I believe, was the team where the Koch brothers built the stadium.
Bingo, yeah.
Okay. Well, that deflates my take.
But what, you spent years developing? Why did you pick the Cowboys?
Oh, because they were terrible. And it's very fun to take a team that is difficult to recruit to because it's a location no one would want to go because it's so remote. They have no program tradition. You have an incoming class that is not good at football, and you get to build something from the bottom possible level all the way up until you win 6 or 7 Sugar Bowls. And then you realize you've been, playing video games when you should have been going to class.
Wow.
And it's a real empty feeling. But I don't blame the Wyoming Cowboys for that.
You blame Brendan McGowan.
You bet your ass.
All right. Well, always love a little self-reflection. 2 points. Matt Ellis. What is your take on the Wyoming Cowboys?
not knowing anything about them or where they are, my take is this is yet another example of the homogeneity of sort of right-wing consumer culture, where they have to identify with Texas as the imaginary, despite the fact that Wyoming is closer to Seattle, and I'm pretty sure closer to San Francisco than Dallas.
1 point. I mean, they did have cowboys in Wyoming, right?
I guess so.
But I guess Texas is a favorite. 1 point. Decent take. Question 2. Who quarterbacked the Oakland Raiders to a 40-7 thrashing of the Houston Oilers in the 1967 AFL Championship game? The 1967 AFL Championship game. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm afraid you guys didn't get it in time. The answer is Darryl LaMonica, known as the Mad Bomber because he threw a lot of passes ahead of his time. Also, recently hosted a fishing show on Fox Sports called Outdoors with the Pros. Who among us doesn't covet some time in the outdoors fishing with our sports heroes? He managed a perfect passer rating in a game where he came off the bench and was also, along with Joe Namath, the last AFL MVP before the NFL-AFL merger. I'm looking for takes about Darryl LaMonica. Ellis, do you have anything?
This is very difficult because I don't really know anything about football, but I would like to watch his fishing show. And the best take I can get is I would like this man to catch a fish, and I'd like to have dinner with this man. The best I got. It's a 1 point. You can even give me 0 for that.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to give you 0 for that one.
That's fine.
McGowan.
To make sure I'm clear before I give my take, in the same season, there were 2 MVPs of that league?
Yes, apparently.
So he shared it with Joe Namath.
Joe Namath. Jolton Joe. Or no, that's Joe DiMaggio. Anyway. Yeah. Brendan. Again? God damn it, Brendan.
I believe it is. Either way, Joe Namath's numbers are paltry and terrible. It is a player that should be removed from the Hall of Fame. And knowing that this guy is not a household name and was able to get a fishing show years later, which requires more charisma than anything Joe Namath ever did in his post-career, either TV shows or that movie that he starred in, I now wish to travel to a parallel dimension where their post-football careers are completely swapped, because I can guarantee you LaMonica is not going to try and kiss Susie Colbert.
Wow. 2 points, Brendan. I didn't even hear the first part of the take, and I got to give you 2 for that one.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. Question 3. What current NHL team has suffered the longest since its last Stanley Cup title? Remember, 1982? Brendan.
The Montreal Canadiens?
It was not. No. It was not them.
Take it easy.
Matt, do you have a guess?
Vancouver Canucks?
I don't even know if the Canucks existed at that time. It was the What?
There you go.
It was the New York Rangers. They broke that streak in 1994.
These questions are from 1982.
Yeah. Right.
That's what I forgot. Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
They broke the streak in 1994 when Marc Messier led them to the title. The current longest drought is held by the league's most popular team, the Toronto Maple Leafs, who have not lifted the cup in a whopping 51 seasons. Can you imagine that shit? 51 years. For some context, the winner of the NBA title that year was the Philadelphia 76ers, led at the time by Wilt Chamberlain. The World Series that year, it was Red Sox Cardinals, a series that featured Lou Brock, Steve Carlton, Orlando Cespedes, Bob Gibson, and Carl Yastrzemski.
Yastrzemski.
Yes, it's Yastrzemski.
Yes.
That's not how you say his name, Brendan.
That's how Hawk Harrelson says his name. So that is how you say his name.
Anyway, do you guys have a take on the New York Rangers or the whatever? Do you have a take? Ellis, you first.
Fuck. Go hockey. No, I have 0 takes.
Okay, go hockey. Gonna have to go 0 points for that one.
That's fair.
Hey, Matt, it's okay. I still like you, man.
Okay.
You're a good guy. Everyone likes you.
Will there be a basketball question?
It does not appear there will be.
Oh, goddamn.
You don't believe me? Okay. Brendan.
The Toronto Maple Leafs are the most beloved team in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And you cannot... It is incredibly difficult to get a ticket to a game, from what I understand. And they built a new stadium in the last 15 years and added no seats. It's a brand new stadium with the same seating capacity when you could not get a ticket to save your life.
Wow.
And I think that is a pretty good explanation of how they run the team in general. I forgot if it was Montreal or the Maple Leafs who had the longest title drought. I knew it was one of the two.
Yeah. The Canadians won a bunch at some point in there.
Yeah. But I will say, when you're in a sport with a pretty oppressive salary cap, a pretty forgiving draft lottery, there's really no excuse to be the most popular franchise in the country where the sport is the most popular and you can't put it together. It's astonishing. I mean, it would be as if the Lakers had that kind of drought with titles.
I mean, but in fairness,
it's unthinkable. It's unthinkable.
1 point.
Cool.
I can't believe they didn't add new seats, though. That's insane.
That's pretty wild.
That's what my roommate told me, and I believe it. I've never actually verified it.
Mm-hmm. What's your roommate's deal?
His name is my former roommate. His name is Keenan King from Flint, Michigan.
Mm-hmm. Question 4. What color was Western Kentucky coach Ed Diddle's crying towel, now enshrined in the Hall of Fame?
Matt.
This
is a pure guess because I'm losing. Red.
It was red. Good job.
Wow.
There was a big article about this. I don't know if it was that interesting. Basically, this guy, Ed Diddle, which heinous last name.
That's a great name.
Diddle?
Well, in an article about crying, it's an excellent name.
Yeah, basically he was just a weirdo, and he would hold on to a towel, and during the game he would pat it off and chew on it and cry into it, and he would just really fuck with this towel. And it became a symbol of the thing because it was, it was the thing that the middle-aged man who coached our basketball team cried into. Ellis, what is your take on the towel?
My take is we have a lot of different kinds of towels in sports, right? There are towels you can wipe off your golf clubs with. They're just pure sweat towels. Those are the two kinds of towels that we have. But we need a third towel, and it's a crying towel for all sports. When LeBron a couple years ago hurt himself in the playoffs and everybody made fun of him and he got carted off and he was crying or whatever, if he had a crying towel, the whole thing could have been avoided. So I think we need to install crying towels, and specifically crying towels, in all sports.
You don't feel like we're kowtowing to toxic masculinity?
No, we need more of it. No, not to cover. No. Not to cover up the crying, to show that crying is okay and that you need something to help manage your crying.
2 points. Good take.
All right.
Brendan McGowan.
We've got to be careful when we talk about towels in sports because it's a question of, does the team or organization's culture dictate towel use, or does towel use dictate the culture of the organization? You've got this guy who cried into his towels. You've got Jerry Tarkanian, who was known for chewing his towels. and they played a bulldog style of basketball. They were rough and tough. Now, the most concern I have regarding towels is the Vancouver Canucks have a statue of a former coach who used a towel to wave in a referee's face, I believe in the Stanley Cup Finals, implying they were throwing in the towel because he was taunting the referees, implying that they were in the tank and cheating his team out of a potential victory. Mm-hmm. So they have a statue of this guy complaining and blaming the referees for his team's inability to win. I feel like that kind of culture is how you end up losing in the Stanley Cup Finals and having a riot across your entire city for more than one day. So I will say this. Coaches should not use towels for any reason. It's dangerous.
Oh, wow. Gee.
That's my take.
Because it causes riots.
It has.
Kind of a stretch. 1 point.
It's a huge stretch.
Okay. Just as long as we all recognize that, you know.
Of course.
What team was Warren... next question. What team was Warren Giles associated with before he became president of the National League?
Brendan. Pittsburgh Pirate.
I'm sorry, it is not the Pittsburgh Pirates. Matt Ellis.
I'm gonna say the Cincinnati Reds.
Matt Ellis. It was the Cincinnati Reds.
Sticking with my red.
Got him. Long-time baseball executive career. Very boring, as far as I can tell. But he did begin his career with a team called the Moline Plowboys, playing in Moline, Illinois, in the Class D Mississippi Valley League. Got to assume those guys were fucking unbelievable at fucking. Matt Ellis, what is your take on Warren Giles or the Moline Plowboys?
My take is, can you at least give me a little context here? What time is this man's life?
Good question. Warren, A-R-R-E-N-E, Giles. There we go. Thank you. Recent search history. 33 years, Major League Club President. Oh, this is going to be fun when I find this out. In the Hall of Fame. Years active, 1919 to 1969.
Great. Wonderful. So we're talking real capital H history here.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
My take is what was the name of the minor league team?
God damn it.
The Moline Plowboys.
The Moline Plowboys.
The Plowboys very clearly didn't need OTC boner pills to do what they were doing.
Yeah.
And yet they were still able to make enough of a respectable career and to do enough to show that this man had, he had baseball blood running through his veins and that he could sort of make his way up through the sort of rough and tumble, unregulated, Major League Baseball system at the time. So if anything, I think it is a sign that, players, they don't need OTC gas station pills. They should just, talk to this guy.
They need gumption.
There's a little gumption,
2 points, man. Brendan McGowan.
I think that the most interesting thing of what I've heard is that the Moline minor league baseball team was known as the Plowboys, mainly because this is a city on fresh water in the Rock Island County area of northwestern Illinois, part of the Quad Cities, shares a border with Iowa. I don't understand why they would be called the Plowboys, because it is somewhat of a major city in that area. Not as much farming is happening there, especially at that time. In fact, the city was depressed because of white flight in the 50s and 60s.
Brennan, have you been to Moline?
It's in Illinois, which is where I'm from.
Yeah.
Why would I not know this?
All right. Okay.
So I think that there's no way the Moline Plowboys name is a reference to farming, and is a fun little Midwestern joke on any team outside of the Mississippi River Valley that doesn't get it. We're coming to town, we're going to play some baseball, and then we're going to leave with your girlfriend. Oh, okay. That's what they're saying.
Yeah.
And they know that, and you don't know that, and that's fun.
That's a good take.
Yeah, that's a pretty good take. 2 points. Last question. How many teams play football in the Southeastern Conference?
Brendan.
10. That is correct. It is now 14. Brendan, do you have a take on this question?
I think that if we had not seen conferences grow from the size they were in 1982 to what they are now, and if we had not seen a lot of teams and schools leaving conferences to join mega football conferences, basketball in this country would be better. I think that college basketball suffers both because, the one-and-done guys shouldn't go to college at all, and it should just be the 4-year guys. One-and-done guys should have their own league where they're paid. But also, you have a lot of basketball programs that
they should just play in the NBA.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just saying, it should be 3- and 4-year guys in college, and they should also be in conferences that are better for college basketball, better matchups, because you've got one that I can think of that stands out at this point. It's the ACC. And I think it's detrimental to basketball, both at the college and the pro level, not just in America, actually, but also in Europe.
Sorry, why in Europe?
Because there's a lot of guys that leave college and don't make it to the NBA and go to Europe.
Oh. That's good for them.
And bring their lackluster talents because they were not playing against the best possible competition while they were in college.
All right, 1 point. Ellis.
So this is obviously not exactly comparable, but there's rumors that the NBA is going to do away with their conferencing system and just go to some kind of whether it's East-West or a ranking system in the coming years, right?
Kinda. I mean, People always say it would be such a logistical nightmare that I think that... But go ahead.
Well, either way, I was going to say... this is what happens when you have a labor force filled with not just ununionized workers, but totally exploited workers who aren't paid a cent, who are stuck being relegated to these particular arcane systems that force them into, all of these different sort of arcane sort of rules. I think we should just blow it all up and pay the players and abolish conferences, and they should go where they want to go.
1 point. I mean, good communism, I guess, but
yeah. In the last instance,
let me count our points. 10, 15, 20, 25, 8, and our winner today is Brendan McGowan with 30 points to Matt Ellis's 28.
Damn.
Well fought, Matt. Thank you very much for having me on the show.
Promote anything you guys need to promote, Matt Ellis?
I'm working on a piece right now about the Field of Dreams movie. Also, all of the shit that's happening at the Field of Dreams site. It will be, I'm not sure where, possibly the Hardball Times soon. So be on the lookout for that.
Who's opening a car door?
Me.
Okay. Brendan, you got anything to promote?
I have a Twitter account that one could follow me if they are so inclined. It's Brendan J. McGowan. And keep your eyes peeled for me freaking out about Jeffrey Epstein. And I also have a podcast in the works that I'll be announcing some more stuff down the line.
Oh, wonderful. Follow me at Corbin A. Smith. Rate and review this podcast on iTunes. If you miss giving money to a podcast after we canceled our Patreon, please give it to Roundball Rock. And that's all. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
And Brennan.
Anytime.
Yeah, it was great.
Everybody have a wonderful day.
You too.
Likewise.